see what's going on here. There we go.
All right.
And who's going to be a speaker? I'm sorry.
His name is Keyon, Keyon McDavis Sr.
I don't see him on.
I understand that. So
Oh, watching CNN and talking about World War II.
oh. Well, with D-Day being yesterday, that's not surprising.
Yeah, to say the least. Figured there probably would have been a little bit better turnout today.
Well, I honestly, I think that if as long as we get a speaker and we record this like we talked about,
Sure.
that then we can then share that. I think that's still going to be valuable.
I do too.
So I just messaged our speaker. Let me see if I don't, gosh, what I need to do is I need to make certain that I get both an email address and a phone number for our speakers in the future so I can give them a call.
Yep. Hello, Olga.
Hi, how are you?
I am
Doing
just
good.
fine.
I'm on a Friday type of state of mind, so
There you go. You're entitled.
play a lot of tennis today, so I'm kind of like beat.
See, Olga, I see that you're using that Otter software, same as me. It's
I am.
I think it's pretty darn good. I mean, it's probably one of the best voice to text conversion pieces of software I've encountered so far. So
Are you using the Pro?
no, I'm not using the Pro. I'm just using the so we're all of my money the little that I have goes beyond basically goes into the nonprofit, and we're so doing things as inexpensively as possible has been my way of doing business for the last 5 or 6 years.
I understand.
Maybe one day if we get some big corporate sponsorships that might change, but that's not the reality I'm living with today. So looks like we have Fletcher Brown here.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
And here is our speaker joining us too. So great. So basically what we want to do over the next 10 minutes or so is to have an introduction to the people who are on the call, and then about quarter after the hour we want to turn the meeting over to Keyon and have him tell his story as our featured speaker. So we only have a handful of people. I'm pretty sure Austin is having to join us in audio only mode. Let me know if that's not the case for you, Austin. Yeah, normal fashion at work listening. That's great. So understand, appreciate you being here. So let's go quickly around, take a couple of minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself, and if you're a veteran, a little bit about your service, etc. I'll start out. I'm Dennis Schroeder. I'm a retired Army officer. I was born into a Navy family. I got my college paid for through an Army ROTC scholarship. Entered the Army, took my oath of office in June, almost exactly. I think it was on the 6th or 8th of June of 1978. Served until 2000. And then 11 years later was asked to return to active duty for 2 years. And the job that I got after that brought me here to Middle Tennessee. So, and after that job went away, I started the nonprofit that I currently run called the Price of Freedom Foundation, where we're dedicated to collecting, preserving, and telling the complete life stories of those who died while in military service to our nation. And so that's me. Olga, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I actually never thought I would end up, I'm also a veteran,
Thank you.
U.S. Army. Never thought two career choices that I never thought I would be involved with was nursing and the military. So God said, well, I don't think so. That's what you think, but I have different plans for you. So I actually changed majors midway through my bachelor's and went to Syracuse University for nursing. Graduated and I worked, my first job in nursing was with a VA hospital at Syracuse, which is a teaching hospital. And I went there because they had the best benefits. And I was a single parent at the time. And, you know, insurance, health insurance and leave and all that were important to me, trying to establish some type of balance, work-life balance. A friend of mine, unbeknownst to me, one day asked me to go out to our favorite waterfall after an evening shift. And I'll cut it short. Basically, she said, you know, hey, can you talk to, I'm in the Army, which did in itself, I almost fell off my bar stool because I never ever thought that she was in the Army, the last person. And I said, she said, you ever thought of moonlighting? And my head went elsewhere and I went, no, I'm fine where I am. She goes, no, not that type of moonlighting, Olga. So then I said, well, it's okay. So why are we here? Well, I'm in the military and I'm up for promotion as a sergeant, which another what? And if I refer someone like you to the unit's recruiters, you only have to talk to them. Only talk to them. You don't have to sign anything. I get promotion points. I said, sure, why not? I was still in shock that she was in the Army and for sergeant. And 6 months later, I'm taking the oath. I was brought in as a first. So my specialty for a long time has been critical care. And at that time, they needed nurses. This was 78. And I started out as a reserve officer, broke me in as a lieutenant. I skipped second Louis because of experience and education and specialty. And 3 years later, after I got my master's, I went fully active duty. And was just going to be 4 years. And it was to get away from Syracuse winters.
Sure.
You know, I was supposed to go back to the VA and all that, but yet again, you know, I had plans. God said, I don't think so. So I ended up, total years in service was 30. Wow. So I went in as an officer, retired as a full bird.
Congratulations.
Did all kinds of, my career in the military was not just passing pills and giving bedpans to patients. I had an opportunity to do a lot of things because I violated that critical guidance that a good friend of mine gave me. He says, you know, never volunteer for anything in the military, never. So these wonderful opportunities will pop up and I'll do it.
Yes, I understand that.
So
I think we all do.
Bob said, I think we all did that.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah, and one time I thought of changing my corps to the chemical corps, NBC. because I
Yes.
did a lot of I did a lot of training. So
Right,
I was doing a lot of like, weapons of mass destruction
Mhm.
before it wasn't
Right.
Fashionable or
Right.
necessary.
right.
I was just volunteering, go to these
Very
TDYs that
cool.
were great.
Very cool. Well, if you're not already on our list to be featured speakers, I'd love to extend that offer to you and have you join us later this summer. I know we're booking our speakers out into August currently, so. But I, as a medical service corps officer, Army Nurse Corps officer, it's like we worked hand in glove for most of our career. So. Thank you, Olga
So
Fletcher.
and in the military, I went in also because I started out with a combat support hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But my first active duty assignment, they stuck me in a hospital, Columbia, South
Right,
Carolina. Yay.
right. Yes, yes, yes.
So
So
I kept going, but I ended up my career in a combat support hospital and
Okay,
got deployed to Iraq several times.
very cool.
Olga,
Yeah.
how
All
did
right,
you find us?
Pardon me?
How did you
this
find us?
this meeting, did you get an invitation through LinkedIn from me, or was it shared by somebody else?
I remember seeing, I like to, I do a lot of webinars
Mm-hmm.
for various reasons, primarily to really get a handle as to what's going on. But I think it was through LinkedIn.
Yeah, probably. So
Yeah.
probably an invitation from me. So that's great.
Yeah.
So don't want to cut you off, but we
No, that's
do
fine.
need to treat
I'm
me.
done.
Fletcher, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sir. U.S. Army veteran. Seems like that's the trend this morning so far. Sir, served 6 years armor. I was 19 kilo as tanker, and was medically retired after my 6 years. So served overseas in Desert Storm. Served some time in Germany, and that's my 2 deployments. So it's a fun-filled 6 years. If you
I
want
hear
to
you.
call it that. So very physical 6 years.
All right. Cool. Thank you. Tyler, you just popped on. You want to give us a brief intro here for us? If we don't hear Tyler, then I'll go to Moshe, and we've got about a minute or two left. Moshe's not saying. Okay, Bob, take up the last minute or two here, and then we'll have your assistant give Kenyon the control so he can share his screen and he can introduce himself and start his story then.
Very good. I'm a Navy vet. I got out of the service in 1971 or 72, and it was the height of Vietnam. And instead of going to Vietnam, I got assigned to NATO. So I spent 3 years working for NATO, working for Alexander Haig, who was running a base in Norfolk, Virginia called SACLAT, Supreme Allied Commander of the Atlantic. And then I spent a total 3 years doing that, 3 additional years working as a reservist. So,
all right, cool, and lots of other things since then. So we'll those of us who know know much of the story. The others will get to know you absolutely. So can we bring on Kenyon and I'm sorry, Keon. I apologize, and put the controls over so he can share his screen.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Please, give me about 1 to 2 minutes, and
Okay.
I'm a redo my audio so I can join on.
Okay.
that works. So,
Absolutely.
this meeting today is rather special because of Normandy. And yesterday, anybody in your families served World War II?
I had 3 uncles who did. And they were all Navy. So none of them were, and they were all Pacific theater. So they did not participate in the Normandy invasion. But none of those uncles are living today. So, but
So my dad was he trained guys for the Normandy invasion. Back in those days, they were a DC-3 would pull gliders, and then they crash landed behind enemy lines in Normandy.
mhm,
80% plus of his troop was killed on the first day.
Mm.
When they would stand up to get out of the glider, the enemy picked them off, killed them. So, strange times, but I'm very proud of my dad. He's long since passed away, but his whole thing was honesty and integrity.
yep,
And I, in turn, have done the same thing with my children.
I hear you.
Spoke about that at his funeral. So, we all have something to be thankful for, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
By the way, one little aside, my dad was at a Y group meeting, or get together, and he met my mother, and 30 days later they were married.
Wow.
Then he got shipped off, so it's kind of the reality of
Uh,
the way life was back then.
uh, Keon,
All right. Can you all hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
All right. So, I do apologize. Well, I am at work, but I'm fine. With what I do, I'm on my break right now. But
Okay.
unfortunately, I didn't have all the pictures and things like that because I was waiting on the Google Drive thing, and then I just saw it in the conversation that me and you had. So I'll try to just share my experiences without the visuals. I do
Okay.
apologize about that.
No, that's fine. It's not required. We simply
Yes,
know
sir.
that sometimes folks have that, and it may help to tell the
Yes,
story.
sir.
That's all. So,
Yes, sir. All right. So, I'm trying to turn this TV off. All right. Yes. So, my name is Keon McDavis Sr. I was born and raised in Columbus, Mississippi, and I joined the military in 2010 while I was still in high school. So, I enlisted while in high school, and I was 16 years old, and I turned 17 the summer of 2011,
mhm,
and I was a part of the delayed entry program, and I shipped out on September 13th, 2011. So I served for 7 years before I medically retired. I am a 100% permanent and total disabled veteran, and my experiences in the military pretty much shaped me to be the person that I am today, and the father that I am, the husband that I am, the employee, the friend, the brother, all of that. But everything wasn't always very good. So, basic training, AIT, it was great. No problems, no worries. Just getting acclimated to everything. My first duty station was Fort Benning, Georgia. I was a part of FSC 115 3rd ID. unit on Kelly Hill. So being a part of that unit, it was very, very interesting, I must say, because I experienced a lot of things while at that unit. As soon as I got to the unit, I found out three months later, right out of AIT, we're deploying. So I'm like, okay. So I'm 17 going on 18 at the time. And I'm like, okay, cool. Never knew anything about it. I knew my job from AIT, but I did not know what to expect and stuff like that. So when we actually did deploy, that's when things kind of got a bit crazier, I could say, for my military experience. Um, while overseas, I started seeing like different soldiers and different leadership styles differ from when we were back home. Back home, everyone was more, cool, calm, collected, chill, and stuff like that. And with this being my first time deploying so young in my military career, I didn't know how deployments work. I didn't know how much they really change people. So with going there and entrusting in your leadership to do the right thing and to always um, put you in a position to succeed, that was not the case. It was almost the total opposite. It was almost like if you didn't do what they say, how they said it, when they said it, people formulated their own type of cliques. And with these cliques, like if you was not a part of it, you were not gonna be able to reap the benefits of what a soldier should. That may mean you're doing all the work and someone else is getting recognized for your service, or something that you have done. Someone else is getting awarded for it. Someone else is taking the credit for it because you're younger, you don't understand. So with that, with being deployed, it opened up my eyes to that, and also how certain leadership change from when they go from enlisted to just a non-commissioned officer role, going from that specialist to that sergeant, and kind of develop like that mean streak, or I want to make a point or something like that. Like that was really one of the bigger things that really affected me from my first unit. Even with us coming back home, when we came back home, everything wasn't all bad overseas. But the things that were bad, they really highlighted my perception of the military, because it's like you entrust in the people who's to your left and your right. But I mean, they let you down. They let you down. So me, I'm an organizational person. I'm a family oriented person. So I would do anything for anyone. But once that trust level is not there anymore, it kind of makes me scale back and see things for what they are. And it even translated from when we came back. When we came back, it was just like, okay, act like none of that happened over there. What's overseas is overseas. When we come back home, you act like nothing happened. So that left a bad taste in my mouth too, because some things you can't erase. Like even coming back home and having new leadership there, and me being a younger soldier, even then, like experiencing the discrimination and even experiencing active racism at one point in time, being called out of my name and stuff like that, when you think you would never hear what I heard. And I don't mind sharing what it was. It was one instance, me and two other African American soldiers were breaking down scrap wood, and one of our leaderships, our motor pool sergeants, he is at that point in time, he was our section sergeant or whatever at the motor pool, and he came to the back by the dumpster where we were breaking down the scrap wood, throwing it away, doing what we have to do to go take it to landfill, and he pretty much says along the lines of, exactly along the lines of, what are you monkeys doing? And this was in 2013. Like I said, I'm from Mississippi, so it's still racism that exists there. But I'm thinking I'm escaping certain things, going to something that's more organized, and I'm still experiencing that there. So that kind of put me in a mind of, what would possess somebody to say that or do that? But then when it was brought up to leadership, they did what they did exclusively behind the scenes. But then the type of sergeant that he made it known. Oh yeah, during little briefings. Oh yeah, I gotta make sure I watch what I say so I don't offend anyone. Like, stuff like that always never sat right with me, and that put a bad taste in my mouth from the unit, at that point in time, because I was just like, it feels like no one is on your side, no matter if you're doing right. So that happened from that unit, and then I end up going to a MP unit in South Korea. For 1 year in Camp Casey, and it wasn't better there. Like, being in that type of unit, you're only there for a year, so you're phasing in, you're phasing out, all this. But the things that I've seen, even coming from Fort Benning to that unit, I'm like, y'all are doing this, and y'all are MPs. Y'all are doing this, y'all are arresting each other, y'all are doing this just to bump someone down to keep them from getting promoted. I'm like, what in the world is this? Like, I experienced so much craziness in my military service. It does kind of outweigh a lot of the good things that I was able to experience. Like at a young rank, I was able to be over certain systems in the whole battalion or the whole brigade. I was the hazardous waste coordinator for the whole brigade while deployed. Then when I went to Korea, I obtained my OSHA and hazmat inspector certificate, and I was the youngest there. So the youngest ranked there. So it was a lot of things that I accomplished and was able to accomplish, but it got overshadowed by the things that occurred that I didn't feel were right. But it's like, do you speak up or do you say anything, because you don't want anything to come back on you or no one to feel a certain type of way about you? So with that happened in Korea, I then went to Fort Hood, Texas, and it was not as bad. But what I can say is, with Fort Hood, Texas, the experiences that I had there, it was more so on the realm of, you just do your job and, go home. Because at that point in time, I had been injured. I had been not feeling well. Even now, when I medically retired, I actually had signed a 5-year contract to go to Alaska, and I did my med pros, and I pretty much couldn't go. I had to medically retire. Both of my feet were messed up. Both knees, Achilles, my spine, sleep apnea, PTSD, adjustment disorder. So a lot of things, and that is being at an early age. Like right now, I'm 30. So going through that, but then when I think about everything that I did injure while in the military service, you get judged by it. Like, if you're not able to complete a PT test and have to take something alternate, or while everyone else is running and you're walking because you have a profile, they look at you differently. They treat you differently. They make you feel like you didn't belong. They make you feel like, oh, why did you get hurt? No one else got hurt. Everybody's body is not the same. And that was a big factor as well throughout my military career, as far as being hurt. And I'm just like, well, I'm still gonna do as much as I possibly can do. and still it didn't affect my job. I still worked. I still did what I had to do to make sure I maintained what we had to maintain. But it wasn't just in the instance of what do the military really do for you in a positive light. The only positive thing I had to take away was some of the relationships that I obtained and with me transitioning through the VA. So when I medically retired, the best service, the best experiences I ever had was going through the VA. Them talking to me, them giving me counseling as far as, hey, you're able to do this. Although you're transitioning out, that doesn't mean this is the end. This. I'm like, okay. And then that's when I found out about the War Tech program. I got into the War Tech program to become a field examiner for the Department of Veterans Affairs. So as a field examiner, our primary mission is to protect the benefits of the beneficiaries, their families, their dependents, if they have any mental disabilities that keep them from managing their financial affairs, we appoint fiduciaries. But we also do misuse investigations, health and welfare checks, whether they're at home or in a facility. Bank account audits, budgets. We do everything to try to help the veteran from helping them with home adaptability loans, home vehicle adaptability loans, to making sure they have all the care that they possibly need for them and their families. I
Yeah.
completed. Yes.
Is that what you're doing now?
Yes, sir. I've been a field examiner for going on 7 years.
Nice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem. So when I got done with my training to become a field examiner, as I just stated, I've been a field examiner ever since then. I moved from Texas to Florida. I've been down here ever since. And then outside of that, I've also been advocating on the side to help veterans with their benefits. If they have or had any questions about, hey, I need an increase, this, I help veterans try to get their increase because I have certain knowledge and I have certain resources that I can almost ensure that they can get an increase. Because when I got out, I was 90%. I was 90%, and then it was about 6-7 months, I refiled, and then I got my 100% permanent in total from research that I did on my disabilities throughout my medical records and the actual regulations of the VA. So, and this was outside of my job. So, I do everything I can to help veterans now, as I stated, from my job to what I do outside of my job with helping with benefits. But then even with school, I graduated from FAU in 2023 with my degree in interdisciplinary studies with the concentrations of communication, sociology, and public administration. And I was the president for the student veteran organization, Veteran Owls, since 2021. But I got my associate's degree from 2019 to 2021 at Kaiser University, and I was the president over there at that campus for SVA, Student Veterans Association. And since then, I've just been helping student veterans, older veterans, anybody. If you had any questions about your benefits or how you can get them increased or anything like that, I've always tried to be that resource to help them out, no matter the case. I'll look over medical records. I'll type up things to help them out. I'll break down every single disability, and I let them know how you can get an increase. And even I assist them with walking them through of um range of motion and things like that they actually on CMP exams. I have a very vast knowledge of how to do things and just how to genuinely help people out. And I felt since the VA helped me so much when I was transitioning, not only from that job, not only from being a soldier to now being a field examiner, I just felt like it was my way of giving back just to help veterans who are uneducated or probably been running into roadblocks on how to get the disabilities raised, how to get that increase. Because I mean, from a 70 to 100%, that's the difference of almost $2,000. But then outside of that, you also have your 100% permanent total. Student loan forgiveness, automatically forgiven. All of your student loans. All you have to do is a form. Then you have your benefits for your children and dependents as far as school. If you're going to school, you have your BAH and your COLA. You have your VRNE program. Like, it's a lot of stuff, like the voc rehab. It's a lot of stuff that some veterans just don't know about, that they're entitled to. And I feel like that is my position, to inform them on that and to try to help them out as much as I possibly can. Now, I feel like, although I experienced a lot of negative things in my military service, it did not stop me from being the person who I know I always could be. A trustworthy person, someone who's always going to be there to help someone out no matter what. And that's pretty much it.
A lot.
It was a lot. And thank you for sharing your story. There's some pretty significant and intense things there that I picked up on. I like to open up to the rest of participants to ask questions. I know I'll have a few myself, but I want to open up to everybody else first.
So this is Olga. I don't necessarily have, not yet. I don't have a question for Mr. McDavis. Kenyon, is that how you pronounce your name, sir?
Keon.
So overall, this is my first time participating in these types of webinars, and so I don't have the background as to what the nature of this meeting, but so far I've been very pleased. But if someone could give me just a quick, or we can do it independently of this,
Sure.
you know, the purpose, the mission, the
Sure.
level of participation.
I'd be happy to, Olga. If we're not, I'll try to make certain that if actually what I'm going to ask folks to do, I'm going to drop my contact information in the chat, and I do encourage folks to connect outside of this meeting. And Olga, if you put your contact info there, I'll reach out to you to set up a separate one-on-one
Okay,
here. So
thank you.
absolutely. But I encourage that for everybody else too. So
Now back to our presenter. I have, you know, first of all, thank you for sharing a very well-structured presentation. I've done a lot of behavioral health. My background is nursing, and I've worked levels above reality to include behavioral health. So one of the things that I picked up is how well you were able to address those experiences that were negative in nature in the military, and able to process at the same time the goodness that came out of your experience with the military, and how you're giving of yourself to help others. So it didn't, those negative experiences that you had early in your life, because you went in so at such a young age, did not translate into you becoming a better human being, or just an angry human being. And it takes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of processing. Certainly you've become a very successful young man. You say you're 30?
Yes, ma'am.
In our eyes, young man. But as we sit here, you're getting older, so. and your focus, you know, I just feel really good about hearing you and hearing your story. But in those dark moments that you had in the military,
Mhm.
what avenues did you seek out to help you get through those experiences? And I understand about deployments because I too have been deployed, not only to combat environments, but other types of interesting deployments. In Korea, including Korea, I was in Yongsan at the hospital.
Okay.
And, you know, if there's a lot of stuff that goes on in even I went in, I was in Korea, mid 80s, and I walked in there and I thought, wow, it's kind of like, and it was at that time, it was most of the assignments were non-company assignments. And I saw a lot of things that were not, I felt that were not ethical, professional, or in keeping with being a military person, whether you were an officer enlisted or otherwise. And it was a rude awakening for me. And I was older when I think actually I was 30 when I was there, and I don't come from a you know, a protected. My life was not one that was uh, protected by the social experiences. But when I went in there, I went, "Are you kidding me? I cannot believe this is happening." Yeah.
Mhm.
So to my question.
Yes, ma'am. So pretty much me going through the things that I went through, I felt it was needed as far as the person who I was. But from my upbringing and how I was raised, it didn't phase me as much. It just kind of disappointed me more than, you know, hurt me. It disappointed me because coming from where I came from, I'm like, I experienced certain things, and, you know, you would expect more from an organizational standpoint. But it wasn't like that. But what I did do, I have a very strong faith. So I just kept faith in what I believed in, and I believe in God. So I am a Christian. I believe in God, and I just stayed planted in my faith and let just know, hey, won't put more on me than I can bear. You know, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do and go through whatever I have to go through because it's not gonna last always. So troubles don't
Yeah.
last always.
Mhm.
So, but in the midst of that, I also learned to control the things that I was able to control. So if I felt I needed counseling, I made those appointments. Hey, I need to go to counseling. I need to seek help and talk to someone. Because talking to my leadership, I started to find out that confiding in them, they'll go back and talk to somebody else, then somebody else, then somebody else. Then it gets spread around what's going on with you. So then I just started getting into counseling, talking, seeing other soldiers of what they were going through and things like that. And just finding, just finding that avenue of venting just to get it out the way. And it played hand in hand with my faith regardless. I seeked that help because I can control that aspect. But the things I couldn't control, I just prayed about it and like, hey, it's not gonna last forever. So that's just the attitude of how I approached it, and that's just how it happened.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome.
Tyler or Fletcher, you have any thoughts or questions for Keon?
I do not, but I want to thank you for your time. Absolutely.
No problem. You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing that story. That was it's terrible how you had to deal with all that, but thank you for sharing.
Yes, sir, you're welcome.
Moshe, you have any thoughts or questions? And I don't know if you're seeing, Kian, if you're seeing the chat, but Austin is participating in listen only mode, but
Yeah, I just seen
all
it.
right, all right.
Hmm.
So I guess from my perspective, I came in to the service earlier than you, but I just remember that when I came in back in '78, there was the Army was still going through a pretty significant issue with racial integration into the service, and being appointed as equal opportunity officer within several of the units that I was assigned to as a young officer, that these things that you experienced are troubling to me. Troubling that there was still a need for what's the right word for it? I'm blanking on that, but as an organization, we established principles that said we should do better. We should treat people with dignity and respect regardless. And it's disappointing and troubling that when we have clear instances and evidence where that didn't happen. So I'm from my heart to yours is like, I'm sorry you experienced that. I'm very happy that you went through that and came out the other side in a better place or position, leaning on your faith and seeking the counsel where you found out that it could be helpful and not just be spreading gossip. And we still have a long ways to go in helping to create and craft character within our soldiers, within our service members. I was company commander only once during my time in the service, and the hardest part for me was that at that point in time, we had a lot of folks that were held over from the Vietnam era that really shouldn't have been in. And I wound up in a very small medical company in the 9th Infantry Division, putting 5 NCOs out of the service. I hated doing it, but their behavior required it, including one who made some extremely racist comments, disrespectful of the only other officer that I had in my company who was a black female officer, and I wouldn't stand for it. So anyway, that's just that's my experience, and it's sad to hear that it's still going on 30, 40 years later. So
Yes, sir.
Bob, any thoughts from you? You're muted, Bob.
Sorry about that. I'm older than you guys, so I've gone through a lot of experiences that other people have not. And I think maybe you can appreciate this. So when I was like 14, 15 years old, I was a history buff. I graduated high school in 1967. And I took a bus trip. I'm from Northern California. There virtually is no prejudice, or was no prejudice there when I was growing up. And when we went on this 6-week bus trip, we got into the South, and there would be drinking fountains that said Negroes only. And being from Northern California, we didn't understand anything about prejudice. So the teachers had to explain to us what prejudice was. And it was a rude awakening, Um, Incredible trip, learned a bunch about the United States, but at the same time, you learned what other parts of the country, how they lived. And man, no idea. Never subjected to that before. So it was a learning lesson. We all share learning experiences through life. And I think that's the most important thing for people to understand. In terms of my vocation, I'm a social media consultant. I've been doing it for like 25 years. I have a staff of people that work for me. And I'm here to help people grow their businesses. So that's who I am. My chat is in the my information's in the chat room. If anybody would like to reach out to me, I'd be more than glad to talk to you. I used to sponsor, by the way, I used to sponsor every Christmas. I used to sponsor the Veterans Christmas party in West Los Angeles. And we had a huge turnout of people who show up for that. So, I've just always liked working with veterans. We got taught a different way of doing things, being a veteran. So I think it has a lot of inspiration. And most of us that, you retire and you move on, you look for other things to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's from those learning experiences that gives you the ability to really move forward. That's it.
That's it. All right. Well, we still have a few minutes left here for this session. Is there any comments or questions from our attendees that you'd like to speak up about? I don't want to just hold us here just to hold us here, but I don't want to cut things off if there are things on your
Well,
mind.
here's a thought. How can we help you?
Right.
Even put that in the chat, if you will, of how we might be able to help you. And let's take a look at that. By the way, these recordings, these videos are recorded and sent out to you. So you
Nice.
learn more from that. It was very powerful. So
Right.
thank you for your service.
I have a couple of, one is a thought that as I listened to Mr. McDavis, and it has to do with, what our expectations are as, well, all of us have been through the military, but is the expectation from being in the military that that individual is going to be transformed, is going to morph into something other, or is going to grow into a different human being than when he first or she first entered the military. And I say that because we would like to think that the military, one of the goals of the military is to bring people together to we standardize a lot of the procedures, a lot of what we do, not so much in the medical side in healthcare, but the other units. I spent 5 years in Hawaii with the infantry brigade. I was a liaison, but that was my duty station, and it was a light infantry brigade, and it was like, wow, I was the outsider.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the military's intent is to make you into a different human being. You come in with your values, your view of the world, your religion. You come into the military with that. One should not expect that the military is going to transform that, to the point that when you come out, you know, it's everything, we live in La La Land and everyone gets along together and whatnot. Those biases, especially when it comes to racial, ethnic, nationalities, religious, don't go away. They don't go away. And it's unfortunate because under stress, most of the time, people keep those biases and whatnot under wraps. But when there isn't a cohesive unit, there isn't authentic leadership, there isn't mentorship or sponsorship or preceptorship, things that those individuals just gonna go out there and trying to figure out how to navigate in order to make it to the next day, not necessarily succeed. I think Keon, you know, ran into some issues and is just trying to keep his head above those experiences. And many of us did that. I did that. And I went in with rank. And with me, it was I went in active duty as a captain. So my own peers wonder, well, why are you here? I mean, how'd you get to be a captain? I worked for it. Had my master's. Why are you in the military? I mean, people were that blatant about coming up to me and said, why are you here? You have your master's already. Rumor has it that you have it in adult critical care and administration. Did the Army pay for it? I said, no. My brains paid for it.
Right.
Academic scholarships. So, but right off the bat, I was like singled out as like, what's she doing here? And forget the Hispanic thing, you know, it's like, so it was, to me, it was going on active duty was a really opening experience that I wasn't naive. I wasn't naive enough that I wasn't anticipating some challenges, but some of the challenges that I ran to, like my own peers being critical of like my being there when, you know, I've been in the military for X number of years. Well, I applaud you for that. That's not the road that I took.
Right.
And so, yeah. And I think it's interesting. Bob, where did you grow up?
You're still muted, Bob, there.
Yeah, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, an area called San Mateo.
Okay. So I asked that because you said you did was it a cross-country trip?
Yes.
When you had the opportunity to see how the other world lived, the other side of the country lived?
Yep.
So when we moved from Mexico, my mom remarried and married an American Italian. And we ended up, unfortunately, because my mom's, when we were ready to move, we were driving with my dad, my stepdad, from northern Mexico. When we got to the border, everyone's papers were in order except my mom's. For divorce papers, there was something, a glitch. So my dad went ahead and he needed to get back to work, and my mom got her papers together. So that meant that we had to take a bus, a Greyhound bus all the way from Mexico to Syracuse, New York. We crossed the border, and one of the first stops that we made was in San Antonio, Texas. And this is the first time. So my mom had business English because she had been an executive secretary, but the social English, the regional norms, you know, she wasn't aware of that. So we were going to use the bathrooms, and there were signs, and one of them said blacks and the other one said whites. So mom went to the whites. I mean, she just picked, you know, she saw the little figure of a female bathroom, and we were stopped. That in itself is a sign of significant ignorance on people's mind. And we were stopped because we were brown.
Right.
They should have had black, brown, and white. I mean, someone should have thought of that, right? I'm being facetious, obviously. And so
I'll be more facetious.
I mean, mom couldn't Yeah, she asked, I said, no, then someone pointed her to go to the black women's bathroom. Welcome to America.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Sorry.
I'm laughing because black and white means gray, and that's the situation you were in.
Uh,
You combine the two.
I kind of like the brown color better.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes, you're right. Nice to
So,
see you.
all right, we are at the top of the hour, and I appreciate everybody's participation. I think these topics can I know we certainly have not delved into this nearly as much as I think it deserves, but it definitely to me points out that we still need to we have a long way to go to instill a sense of treating all people with dignity and respect. I mean, because that's
Bingo.
what I think gets at its heart. If we are making comments or separating people based upon skin color, ethnic background, etc., then we're not treating people with dignity and respect. So I want to thank you all for being here today. I thank you for Keon. I thank you so much for being our featured speaker. Please share what we're doing if you like this with those that you know, so we can let everybody who wants to be able to tell their veteran story. And we will I will be in Park City, Utah this time next week, but I will join you. I'm going to be headed to Washington State for a wedding and a high school reunion over the next few weeks, but I'll be joining from there, and look forward to seeing you all next time.
Dennis, can I
Thank
leave
you,
you with
Bob.
some good news, please?
Yes, please do.
There's a bill going into Congress by two graduates. It's one's from the Democrat, one's from the Party. Both are graduates of the West Point 2004 class. And it's going to be, it's the military transition civilian, something, I forgot the full accurate, the full title, but it's military transition to civilian life. And that's the bill to work with military people who are retired, who are leaving the military to go into civilian life to try to make things a lot easier. I don't know all the aspects of the bill, but as I said, I saw the two representatives who, as I mentioned, were West Point graduates who are really working to get things going with that. So that's some hope for the cause.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate hearing that. I look forward to finding out more about it, and hopefully it will make a positive difference. So
I know one of them, I forgot the name. One of them is John James. I think he's in
Okay.
Michigan, and I forgot who.
Okay.
And the other one's from New York.
Okay.
I really forgot his name. I apologize, but if you want to look it up in the meantime, but
Wow.
at least knowing that that's been an issue for years, I wanted to give you some
appreciate
reason
that.
for hope.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
Dennis,
Bob,
would you happen to have time to stay a little bit after this meeting, or you have to
Well,
run?
Bob, if that's okay, we'll just continue on. We'll just stop the recording, and then we'll chat with Olga after.
Sounds good.
Okay, sure. And everyone else, if you need to drop off, that's fine. Understood. Well, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Olga.
I know it's like you're going to be traveling and I'm going to
Right.
be busy. So instead of like setting up an appointment to like learn more about the organization, which I guess
Sure.
God wanted me to be part of this because
Well, I hear you. We have some overlapping time and service and in the Army Medical Department. So I definitely look forward to hearing your story. But okay, so the Price of Freedom Foundation is the organization that I started 5 years ago. Our purpose is to collect, preserve, and tell the complete life stories of those who died while in military service to our nation, or proximate to it. Meaning that, for example, I have a woman who currently has two sons serving in the Marine Corps, and had a third son who spent 7 or 8 years on active duty in the Army, got sick, was medically retired, and 2 years after that, died as a result of a complication of the medications that he was taking for that condition. She's telling me that she's not considered to be a Gold Star mom because they didn't see it as being service connected. But in my opinion, it is. And so, we do not simply take the cases of service members who died in conflict areas. Yeah, it's basically any cause. So whether it is a training accident, whether it is somebody getting sick and dying, whether it is a traffic accident. In fact, I think I was telling, I don't know if remember who I was talking to, because I've had several meetings today, but I was on a podcast yesterday evening with a young woman who I've known for years through photography, and turns out that her brother served in the Navy and was killed in a traffic accident. He was going out to sea, and his wife and children didn't really want to be separated from family, so he had taken them to family and in the Kentucky area, and he was driving back to his duty station when he was involved in a traffic accident that took his life. So that's a story that and I guess the Navy does consider them to be Gold Star family. So if it's a suicide, we want to tell those stories. I would say there are probably some stories that where the service member does something terrible and then commits suicide. These are not stories that we think that the families are going to want us to tell. So it's like it's self-selection on the part of the family. And that's what I've been focusing on with what resources I have over the last 5 years. So we have a handful of stories that we are researching. We have one story that we completed the book of, and we are presenting that to the family and the people who we interviewed to draw the source materials from on the deck of the USS Midway on August 10th of this year. And he had been assigned to that ship twice during his career. He served 18 and a half years as a machinist mate in the Navy and was lost at sea in October of '98. So that's basically what my nonprofit is geared towards. And Bob has been helping me with this. We started out last fall, I think, and was trying to think of ways that we could, I guess, get some attention to this. But more than that, I mean, storytelling, I believe, is important, and I believe that as for this particular meeting, what I want to do is to encourage veterans to tell their story while they're still living. And I know we only have about 30 to 40 minutes that we can allot to that, but I think it's at the beginning. And I think that too many veterans just never tell their stories at all. And so I want to encourage that. And I think that this is kind of what we're thinking this platform can be. We want to record these, we want to record them so that we can share them, and that they may give other veterans it's not courage, but just basically to say, hey, it's okay to tell your story, and it's okay if it doesn't fit within whatever you think people want to hear. I mean, we want things to be told. We want the truth to be told, and whatever form that is. And does they have to be doing it here? No. In fact, I'd rather have people, find your own way to tell the world, to tell the people around you, what your experience was, because especially those who were never in, because they don't know, right? They don't know what you went through unless you tell them. So that's kind of where I'm at with my thinking about this. So
Dennis,
Where-
have I'm sorry, I'll just pipe in real quickly. Did I ever introduce you to Betty Withrow?
I don't think you did yet.
She's a writer.
I
And
need writers for sure.
oh, okay. She's in my 8 o'clock group
Okay.
that, an hour later is this group. So I'll go ahead and introduce you to her.
All right. Super.
All right. Very good.
I'll go
My
ahead.
question was going to be where are these stories being archived?
Well, we publish them. So we have in fact in the information that I put in the chat, there's a link that shows where people can purchase the book either in hard copy or ebook form. I haven't had the resources yet to produce it in audio book. We do want to be able to tell these stories via video documentaries. So, but those are far more expensive to produce than producing a book, which isn't cheap either, by the way. But that our vision is, number one, we have to collect, because once you or I pass away, we're the only ones that know our story completely. Everyone else, we have to pull the pieces of that together from. So even the person that knows you most intimately, a spouse, a parent, a sibling, whatever that may be, doesn't know everything about you. And so that's why we have to pull things together. Our first completed story, the case is true that every person we interviewed found out something about the lost loved one that they didn't know before, through the process of our collecting and sharing that information. Then we want to be able to preserve the story, and that's why we're producing them as printed books. Because as great as digital media is, I know for a fact that it may not be able to be found 20 or so years from now. My own experience, my last assignment in Hawaii, I was involved in a big medical exercise in 1999, 2000 called Pacific Warrior. And for several years after I retired, I'd be able to pull up news articles that talked about it, to show to people and say, hey, this is what. Today, you cannot find it. Nothing at all. And I've done, some pretty granular kind of search things. So I don't want families to be in that same position, 20 years hence. I want them to have something that will last and print on paper in a hardbound book that's kept, in a safe, dry place, has lasted for hundreds of years. So that's what we want to preserve. Then we want to tell. We want to tell the story. Well, certainly publishing the book, we're going to have a certain number of people that will purchase and read that book. But let's face it, we are a video-centric society, not a bibliocentric society anymore. And so video is the answer to that. And we currently do not. So we record every interview that we do. Most of them are Zoom recordings, and we do speaker view. So at least it can approximate better what a TV audience would want to see. But whenever possible, I prefer to do interviews face to face, so I can have 2 or 3 cameras set up and lights and better video and audio quality. But for our first story, we have 44 hours worth of video between our interviews, the home videos that the family shared with us, and the videos that the Navy had shared with them of the memorial services that they held for him. And I basically need film, movie makers, film directors, etc., who can give our video editors, the instructions on what they need. I have a couple of, I think I have one still on my website as listed as a video editor, but she's frustrated, and because she needs something I haven't been able to give her, and that's that kind of direction to say, okay, take this segment from this interview and that, etc., so we can build a documentary. That's not my skill, and to pay somebody what they deserve to be paid for that, we're talking the lowest bid I've ever had was around $30,000. What most people in the industry here in the Nashville area have told me, and I've talked to about a handful of people independently, separately, all talk in the neighborhood of $100,000 to $150,000 per 60 minutes of documentary. So that's where we are. That's where we're at. But the vision is much, much larger than that, because I want to give veterans an opportunity, independent of telling the full story, of being able to pay tribute to their fallen comrades, because I know that there is a therapeutic benefit to that. So whether that's a conversation with me or our team, or they produce a video themselves, we want to be able to have those recorded and put out on our website and on our social media. I want to be able to offer this not just to our military, but to the veteran community that survived their military service. I want to be able to offer this to our first responder community, our firefighters, our law enforcement people, our EMS, the folks that go to the danger, when people lives are at risk. I want to be able to do this internationally, because this is not simply an American value. And so the vision is huge, and it's certainly not something that I could ever do on my own. So, but communicating that vision is what I see my role as, and drawing people to the mission and to the cause. I believe God's going to bring those people into my life, and He has up to this point for for work to get us to where we're at. Because I couldn't have done it without the writer who wrote our first book. I couldn't have done it without the guy who generously donates his time and other resources to setting up and maintaining our website and our other social media presence. And the list goes on. I've got probably 6 or 7 people that are actively volunteering time, energy, and effort that save us a lot in terms of costs.
Well, I think our marketing person needs to find us a benefactor.
Yes, I need to find. I do have a part-time virtual assistant who's assisting me. I've got.
I was thinking of Bob. Isn't he our marketing person?
Well, he's helping me to build my my list here through LinkedIn. And so this is a part of that as well. I have somebody who spent 20 years in the San Diego area, who now lives here in the Nashville area, who did event coordination and promotion, mainly for large musical events. And she's guiding us through the process to promote the event in San Diego, and may have found us a corporate sponsor. I guess we're not. I guess I can tell who it is. It's basically the San Diego Harley Davidson people that want to do an honor ride and the like. So we're not anywhere close to confirming that, or confirming what dollar amounts that they can give towards that. But yes, we need to find corporate sponsors. I mean, I'm thinking to myself in terms of what kind of companies would it make sense to sponsor us, because of they're providing the kind of product or service that we need. So with a lot of the research, I have to do a lot of not all of it's going to be travel, but some travel. So an airline that could help with super discounted rates or free airfare, a hotel chain that could go and help us with lodging where we have to go, a rental car company that would could be the sponsor for when we have to travel, a gas company that could say, hey, we're being able to help these folks as they travel across the country to do this research and these interviews. So those are the things that pop into my head. But like, I haven't had any conversations with any of those folks yet. But yeah, we
Okay.
definitely need help with all of that.
So is this a monthly meeting or is this
We do this
how-
every Friday, and right now, let me go to where I have my I've got my roster here. We are right now booked through, actually, I think I may have to move the one on the 26th of July. We are booking into August, and August 9th, unless Bob wants to host this himself, I will not be able to participate in the August 9th one, because the very next day is when our event in San Diego is going to be, and I know I'm going to be in San Diego and probably dealing with last minute issues with that. But so August 2nd, August 16th, August 23rd, etc., are currently open on our calendar. Would you be interested in being a featured speaker?
Yes, obviously I'm not a shy person.
I'm sorry, you're not a what?
Shy person.
Shy person, yes. Well, that's
But
great.
I will, do you have like a format, you know, like guidelines?
Basically, no. What I basically have told folks is that we're going to give you 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to offer to turn the or give permissions for you to share your screen if you want to you, and it's basically to tell your veteran story. You know, we would prefer if you focused, you know, however much time on your military service, but clearly, you know, with your life after service, it's affected, you know, the course of your life. So, we don't want to place too many restrictions on folks. I want folks to be able to tell their story as they see fit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So I will. Which of those dates do you think you could work best for you?
So you mentioned August, what dates in
So I'm
August?
looking at August 2nd, 16th, 23rd, or 30th.
The 16th sounds fine.
Okay, excellent. Put that in here. And I've got your email and phone number, I think, in the chat
Yes, I
here that I
included in the
saved,
chat.
and I will put that in there so we can be in touch. We invite you to participate like today in these meetings when you can. Clearly, we know people have busy lives outside of this, so but we definitely, I put you on the calendar for August 16th. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
And it helps
then-
if you send an invite so I can plug it into my calendar.
Yeah, I will, I'll double check. I think that the invitation that you got for this will work for that one as well. But I will double
Okay.
check with Bob. Bob and his folks are the ones who are doing the technical stuff behind
Okay.
this meeting. All
All
right,
right.
super. Thank you
Well,
so
it's
much.
been wonderful.
Thank you, Olga. Hey, Tyler, you're gonna pop in and chat, or we're gonna, how you doing today?
I'm
Hi,
good.
guys.
Bye.
All right.
I was just hopping on to say good seeing you, and
All right.
thanks for inviting me to this. I wasn't sure what to expect when you invited me, but this is a cool thing that you're doing.
All right. Well, cool. Well, cool. Well, appreciate it. And, we'll, yeah, I think this is going to be a good platform to get folks to kind of talk about their service. And I think personally, I'm hoping, praying that will be something, a springboard for them to share their story in other venues outside of this, so that, you know, I think it'll be good for everybody.
Good thing you're doing.
All right, man.
All right.
Thank you so
Take
much,
care.
and we'll see you maybe next week, or certainly on our next board meeting.
Does
at
this
the end of the
happen
month.
every Friday?
This happens every Friday
Okay.
at this time at noon. So yeah, that's the whole idea, is that we can have something that's repetitive, that people know, hey, this is what I can expect, and that, you know, they can, if they want to, can get on the calendar to be the featured speaker.
Okay. Good.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Uh,
Cheers.
Take care.